Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the War Diary. On the 450th day of the war, here are the main highlights of the day at 7 p.m. Beirut time. We begin with the situation in Lebanon. Israeli raids continued on Lebanese territory on Sunday. The southern suburbs of Beirut were the target of a new wave of Israeli bombardments on Sunday afternoon, following evacuation appeals targeting Hadath and Burj al-Brajne. Two heavy strikes hit the Kafa'at neighborhood in particular. Israeli Army Arabic spokesperson Avichai Adrai sent evacuation appeals to residents of Beirut's southern suburb, urging them to stay away from these areas, which he said were, and I quote, close to facilities and infrastructure belonging to Hezbollah. In southern Lebanon, one Lebanese army soldier was killed and 18 wounded on Sunday following an Israeli bombardment targeting the Al Amriye military post between Tyre and Naoura. Israeli aircraft also raided several localities in the afternoon, including Nabati, Al Khraib, Kfar Tibnit, Arnoun, and Bayada. According to the national news agency, an Israeli tank positioned on the heights of Bayada continuously shelled the locality as well as that of Sammouri. Clashes also took place in Bayada between Hezbollah fighters and Israeli army attempting to infiltrate. In the Bekaa, Israeli aircraft targeted the Zahruriya region between Budai and Al Ala, killing several people. Raids also targeted Bidnail and Kasar Naba in the Baal Bakhirmil region. For its part, Hezbollah claimed responsibility for several attacks on Israeli positions, including Israeli army gatherings in Mtalle, the Lebanese Khiyam, Ma'alo Tarshiha, Hatzor, Hakilit, Kiryat Shmuna, and Munara. It also announced that it had targeted the Glirot base, headquarters of the 8,200 intelligence unit, located 110 kilometers from the Lebanese-Israeli border, as well as the Zevulun military base dedicated to military industries located north of Haifa. Since this morning, Tel Aviv, Haifa, and several Israeli towns have been the target of rockets fired by Hezbollah, causing material damage and injuries to Israelis. The rocket fire also led to a temporary suspension of departures from Ben Gurion Airport. Israeli Channel 14 reported more than 250 rockets had been fired from Lebanon towards northern Israel since midnight Saturday. An Israeli media outlet described the day as, and I quote, difficult in the north of the country where missiles fly like birds and alerts are incessant. Former minister and Knesset member Benny Gantz declared, and I quote, that the Lebanese government is giving Hezbollah carte blanche, adding that it's time to take firm action against the infrastructure of Hezbollah. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will hold, and I quote, a limited security consultation this evening to discuss a possible resolution in Lebanon. In the same context, European Commission Vice President Josep Borrell, on an official visit to Lebanon, stressed on Sunday the need to put pressure on Israel and Hezbollah to accept the ceasefire offer proposed by the United States of America. He also strongly denounced what was happening in Beirut and felt that it put the international community to the test, stressing that it could not stand by and do nothing. For his part, the advisor to Iran's Supreme Guide Ali Larijani declared, and I quote, that Hezbollah is powerful in the defense of Lebanon and the region, and that Lebanese officials should take this into account in their negotiations. According to the latest figures from the Lebanese Ministry of Health, 3,754 people have been killed and 15,626 wounded in Lebanon since the start of the war. In Gaza's Civil Defense Agency said Sunday a drone strike overnight seriously injured a hospital chief in an attack on the healthcare facility, and 11 people were killed in Israeli raids on the Palestinian territory. The death toll in Gaza since the beginning of the war at 7 p.m. Beirut time. Gaza's Ministry of Health has recorded 44,211 dead since October 7. In other news, the Iranian Tasnim agency reported that Iran is preparing to respond to Israel, citing Khamenei's advisor. The Israeli government said this Sunday it had approved the nomination of Yechiel Leiter, an ally of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as the country's ambassador to the United States. Meanwhile, the UN Special Envoy for Syria said on Sunday that it was extremely critical to end the fighting in Lebanon and Gaza to avoid the country being pulled into a regional war. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights War Monitor said Israeli strikes on the city of Palmyra earlier in the week killed 105 people in the deadliest such attack on Tehran-backed groups to date. That's it for today's recap. See you tomorrow for another roundup of the situation. Until then, stay connected on our website www.thisisbeirut.com.lb and on our social media platforms.